And we are live here in sunny, bright, hot Sarasota, Florida at the Bitcoin Bin Crypto Club. If you're watching live here in Sarasota, come on down, hang out. I'll buy you a drink. Wait, the drinks are free. So, welcome everyone to the show. It's your favorite ex-truck driver, Truckers for Freedom. By the way, shout out to my Canadian friends. One of them shall remain nameless, but he's running for office up in Canada right now. Don't know if he wants me associated with him. I'm a bad influence. Damn Americans! Them and their freedom ideas. Okay, so welcome to the show. My friends, last night's Patreon show, I don't like to brag about myself other than being tremendously good looking. But last night's Patreon show was amazing because we literally dug into and I showed you guys how extremely smart people are starting to figure out what I knew two and a half years ago when I started this idea of the clubs, that it's all going local. It's going local and it's going membership based. Because Raul Paul and everyone out in the chat here that was watching the Patreon show last night, did you like how I put it all? I linked it all together and how Raul was like, I don't know what comes after this, but I think it's some type of local membership type of based organizations. And I'm like, welcome to the party, Raul. Better late than never. Yeah. Hey, Raul, join the club. It's what they're starting to realize is everything centralized eventually decentralizes. And when it decentralizes, it happens quickly. It isn't a gradual decentralization. It's a centralized, boom, decentralized. Kind of like a firework. All right. And what we've had 125 years of American corporate and political centralization. Now, this is my mindset. This is what I knew was coming. And I knew it'd be big. I knew it'd be big, like the biggest big of all bigs. When you take 125 years of centralization energy, and you centralize it. The decentralization power, because the centralization, thanks, Lori. The centralization, think of it as there's always pressure for decentralization and there's always pressure for centralization, right? There's always pressure from both sides. But as one side starts to win, the other side has to push in the equivalent pressure. It's like a coil. So as America centralized, the government had to get bigger because it had to add the power to centralize it all. But when it pops quick. And that's where we're at now. See, we've had 125 years of centralizing education, centralizing messaging media, centralizing government, centralizing energy. And mind you, since the entity and the environment we're talking about is a global power structure, you have to remember that it wasn't just global governments that were centralizing. It was corporations, it was industries, it was media, it was newspapers, it was all this. And it all centralized. So that much global energy has been put into centralization. Well, about 1997 is when it started getting leaks. 1997 is when the government and the banking, well, actually 1970s, let's put it this way. That's when they started implementing digital banking structures. And as soon as they created a digital structure, that's when the leaks started happening. That's when the digitalization started to deconstruct the centralization. All right? That's when they started having problems with gold and silver. That's when silver hit $300 an ounce. Because now people could use digital rails to purchase silver. Oh, shit. Government's like, all right, we got to block that. So they put one finger in the silver hole in 81 or 82. Then a little bit more time passes. Then we have the savings and loan crisis. Then we have the internet launching, the early internet. I'm talking the bulletin boards. We're talking 89, 88, 89, 90 area. Then we had email. Email by fax machines. That's when the emails started hitting the post office. My dad worked at the post office. I used to hear him talk about emails eating up their revenue because my dad was an accountant at the post office in St. Louis. So he was tracking the numbers, the the amount of money that each post office was generating. So he was eyes on, watching letters, uh, get eat up with email. And then he started seeing junk mail dropped. That's when my old man started getting a little, hang on a second, we're losing revenue. And that's when the porn sites really, really started taking off. Well, the porn sites, a lot of them were the dirty magazines that were getting mailed in a lot of those magazines went digital. So they started seeing the revenues of the post office drop. That's another one. We got to plug up the post office. Then, 1998. What a lot of people don't realize, that's when they started to digitize Wall Street. That's when they started creating these that's when the trading floor started going digital. So you didn't need to be down on the trading floor with your little ticket. Sell, sell, sell. I got 100,000 shares. Sell for 109.4. Blah, 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 blah. That's when all that started going digital. Then into the 2000s. All right. And that's when they knew they had to have, shall we say, an event to anything happen around 9/11, 2001. Anything odd happened around then. Yeah. The mysterious Building 7 went down. 2 blocks away. And their excuse, if you haven't heard, number one, most people don't even know about Building 7. Right? They've heard of the Twin Towers. Oh yeah, the Twin Towers went down. They don't know that Building 7 ran by the FBI, CIA, and IRS. That one also collapsed 2 blocks away. Do you know the official excuse for how Building 7 went down? Sympathetic collapse. Sympathetic structural collapse. That's what the insurance claim for Building 7. That was their legitimate reason for Building 7's collapse. Sympathetic structural collapse. All right. So, Building 7 saw the Twin Towers drop and said, you know what? In solidarity with the Twin Towers, Building number 7, I am going to fall too. And people bought this bullshit. I don't know if you know, buildings don't have sympathy. Buildings don't, they don't take a knee in solidarity with other buildings. But according to the insurance claim for Building 7, it fell because of structural sympathy for the Twin Towers. You can't make this shit up, folks. Oh my God. So, for 125 years, we've had the centralization of the globe. We've had World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq. That was all to centralize the control of the globe. Now, fast forward to 2016. And I'm even glossing over 2008, which is very relevant. But fast forward to 2016. Somebody won that wasn't supposed to win. He shall remain nameless. He who won, let's call him. After that, they needed an event. So they opened up their little black book of event ideas. And they're like, you know what? Back in 1917, we pulled the old pandemic play card out. We ain't used it in a while. It's been about 100 years. People have forgotten. Let's do the old pandemic thing. Good idea. So they roll out the pandemic. But what they didn't realize was that the pandemic was going to be happening right in the midst of the most powerful decentralization of monetary systems ever happen. They did not account for the Bitcoin. They did not account for artificial intelligence. They did not account for Chat GPT. They did not account for other social media to grow as fast as it did. They did not account for this. So, what they thought the 19, the what they didn't realize, they thought that would bring the global economy straight down, where they could rebuild it. No, that blew it up and out. That caused the perfect storm, because now they have lost control of employment. They've lost control of inflation. They've lost control of the global monetary system. They've lost control of everything that was centralizing and had centralized. See, what they thought would save them actually killed them. And now, the natural destruction or the creative destruction model of capitalism. Remember, capitalism is only a fancy word for value-added natural economy. That's it. It's Austrian economics. Austrian economics is just the economic system of nature. Value-added economics. You have a seed, it's worth a little. You have a small plant, it's worth a little bit more than a seed. Value added as it grows. You grow that seed into a tree, value added economics. That's what capitalism is. Energy flows to the strongest surrounding value-added engine. Each seed is an engine. Energy flows to the closest, most efficient seed. That's value-added economics. Capitalism is just nature's economic system. That's all it is stored up capital energy is dispersed to the closest and the most efficient and productive entity near the capital, near the energy. That's called capitalism. Well, inside capitalism is creative destruction. Creative destruction is a bunch of little trees growing around a big tree that overpowers the big tree, and the big tree falls. The big tree falls, it rots. Its its waste is distributed amongst the soil that is redistributed to the closest entity that's growing. Capitalism. Creative destruction is just a fancy way of saying old, inefficient, replacing young and efficient. Welcome to it. So now, in that analogy, this club is one seed of the next wave of growth, because we've had this big tree blocking the sun for 125 years. That tree's been growing, and it's absorbed all the energy. All of us little trees have tried to move around and get a little bit of sun here and a little bit of sun here, get a little energy from the ground. But now the big tree has got top heavy. Too many leaves on the trees, too many branches of the tree. The tree's starting to fall over. We got branches dropping off the tree. So now's the time for the tree to fall over. The tree's going to fall over. And all that energy, all that sunlight, all the soil is going to be just perfect for all of us little decentralized tree and bushes and grass and plants. Now it's a race. It's a decentralized race for the next. That's why they call it the fourth turning. Because this is the fourth time that this has happened in modern human history. Now, this is what I knew 2.5 years ago. This is what Raoul Paul is now looking for. His words last night on his interview. Now I just got to figure out what's next and invest in that. And he says, I'm thinking it's going to be local. Some type of membership or something like that. And everyone watching, all right, everyone watching last night's like, ba-boom, baby. The Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, where we are basically Web3, Web4, blockchain, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, shared economy, word of mouth monetizing. We are the education centers for the next generation. Anybody want to continue this conversation? All right, I got 10 seconds. Join me for the rest of this conversation on Patreon. Links right under here. Love you guys. See you on Patreon in about 5 or 10 minutes. All right. Love you. Bye.